Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. I'm doing a video just showing the progress that I've made on my upper level, on my layout. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself and I wanted to make sure that I had something up on my channel before I get too far and then you don't see the progress. So let me take you around. This is my local train coming through. The loop that I made up here on the upper layout, on the upper level rather, is a very simple, almost dog bone style loop, single track. The only siding I have is for the industries on this side of the peninsula. I do have a couple of spurs, some are facing, some are trailing, but I'll show you that a little bit later. Let me just take you over to my block detection so that I can show you the overall layout of that upper level. So as you can see, it's basically, two loops, one over here and then one over here, so that it creates a dog bone with a bend over here. So very simple. And the industries are basically, there's going to be a to be determined industry right there. There's going to be, well, there is a cement and gravel plant there that's already in place. And then this siding is for, it's almost like a team track for both that industry and for the grain elevator on this side. There's also a little storage track that goes off the team track here, and then it reconnects to the main right there. This spur here is going to be going to the future. There's like another section that I built off the side there, and I'll show you later about what that's all about. And that's going to be probably some kind of refinery or some kind of like chemical plant or something where it accepts tank cars. So as you can see, the right now the locomotive is making it around the back loop there. And I have one little glitch happening here with the block detection. As you can see, it's like going on and off. I think it's connected to the wrong B rail. The common rail might be connected to the wrong place. But that's the only place. Everything else is working fine. So with that said, let me take you around and show you what I've been doing. So this is obviously the top of the peninsula, meaning the furthest point of the peninsula. And what I wanted to do here is a little bit of a scene break, and it's similar to what I did in the lower level with I don't want the eye to be able to see too far on that side, because I wanted this to seem like this is just one thing and this side is a very, very different scene. So what I imagine is that on this side it's more industrial looking, and it's very flat. There's no grade or anything like that, and even though there's no grade on the entire upper loop, I want this to seem like there's a little bit more lift. So what I did is I basically just lifted this area a little bit with plaster cloth and just some fiber and bushes and things, and then I put a lot of trees. I wanted to make it very dense, very like almost like a wooded area with a lot of trees and things. And then this little industry here is going to be a simple one. It's not going to be anything that's going to receive a lot of cars. It's a little tricky though, because the preferred route for the train that I'm running up here is in this direction. So in order to access this spur, we would have to go into a reverse loop back there, allowing the train to go in the other direction so that it can back into this industry here and grab some cars. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down here and we'll follow the train around so I can show you everything that's happening. So as we come around, what's happening here is that it's going into kind of like the middle of nowhere. I want it to seem like a very dense, almost like Pennsylvania style wooded area where the train's coming through trees. So this is all going to be trees over here in the back. I'm going to obviously continue this that way. I wasn't able to do it until now because I was actually creating this panel here. I just finished it and painted it. So as the train comes around, again, there's going to be a little elevation here with a bunch of trees. There's a little bit of an S-curve. winding through the tree line and all that stuff. So there's more trees here, and then it goes through this bridge with a dried up muddy river here, continuing through. It's a little dead spot there I gotta fix. And as it goes into this industry area here, not an industry, but this facility, it'll open up a little bit. But I still want a lot of trees in the back here, to continue that look of like a forest type thing. And then obviously it'll reconnect. It'll be a little bit open here for parking lot and whatever, but it'll still be pretty heavy on trees. So as we come around, this is where we were before. Now it opens up, and now it's more, dry and cement and dirt and grass, but not a lot of trees and things like that. So this is my cement and gravel plant, and I came pretty far with this. I still have a lot to do here, but just to talk a little bit about it, what's happening here, and I'm gonna let the train kind of go now, because I have a lot to say about this. What's happening here is that we have our gravel facility here in the front, and there are 3 tracks that basically go into this facility. Obviously you have loading, unloading, whatever situation might be. This local locomotive here, this is going to be the actual switcher for this industry and the gravel and the grain industry right behind this one. So that's the locomotive that would pick up any cars delivered here in the main and start moving them around these 2 facilities. Those elevators in the back there, these silos type of things. I don't know if they're actually going to stay there, but I kind of like the way they look back there, and they're very flat. They're easy to put back there as background, so I might leave them there. The only thing I'm going to take out is the GFC, because that was for another industry, and I'm not going to name this that same thing. So the last track on this side here is basically just a storage track, so that any switching that goes on here, if we need to just throw some cars in there temporarily, that's where they would go. These are the ones that actually feed into the gravel and the cement plant. So if we come around here, you'll see that the 2 tracks that go through those portals continue on, and then there's one that goes into the cement elevator here, it's designed to continue through. So unloading, loading, anything that would happen there would happen on those 2 tracks. There's my cement truck there waiting for whatever. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that 2 things. The ground cover here is grout. It's just gray grout, and I love the way it came out. I actually found the technique just by mistake that I was using to give it this look, this whitish kind of cementy look. What was happening with the other sections that I made with grout is that the grout was coming out a little bit dark and too perfect, meaning the color was like even all the way through, and then I'd have to go back and weather it with like powders and things. But what happened here is that the first layer I put down, I put a bunch of grout down, I flattened it, leveled it out, and I put alcohol and then scenic cement, basically the white glue with the water, and then when it dried, it created these very deep cracks everywhere. I guess that's to be expected. So what I said was, okay, once that dries, then I'm gonna go back and put more grout in and cover the holes, and then put more scenic cement in, and make that solid. But what ended up happening is when I put the grout in the holes and then I put the scenic cement, it went back to that dark color again. So I tried just doing one, and then I said, you know what, let me just see if I could just push the grout into the holes and just kind of rub them in, and that created the very white looking uneven color texture. So basically I was just putting grout, a little thin layer of grout down, rubbing it in, and then a little more until it got very, very flat like this. and it came out great, and it's solid. It's not going anywhere. I mean, I guess I could put a little bit of glue on top of it, but I don't think it's necessary. It's not like flying off or, you know, anything like that. So I think I'm just gonna keep it like that, and it looks pretty good. This is just dirt from my backyard. It's a little dark. I might lighten it with something, but I don't want to put any trees. I might just put shrubs and a little overgrown grass and things like that there. And then obviously this fencing is going to be wrapping the property here, so it's going to go all the way around. The only thing I'm not sure about is how I'm going to get... I was going to make a crossing here. Once I finish this stuff off, I was going to make a crossing here to get into the facility. But I think that's going to just create a lot of clutter here. It's going to look unrealistic because the truck would get stuck on the tracks and, you know, there's nowhere to turn around and stuff like that. So what I might do is just imagine that the road comes from back here, and then it would access the facility this way or through the back. This way I can just wrap the fence all the way around the territory here, and, you know, by the tree line back there. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was that I put lighting on both buildings. It's not complete. Everything's not done yet, but I put some lighting on the actual structures before I put them down so that I could, you know, test the look of it. And then the only thing I'm missing now is a few lampposts that I'm going to put just to light up the general area and some of the track. And I might even put like a dim, like warm, like a yellowish light in each one of those portals, just to give some downlighting into the tracks while I'm running trains at night. At the end of the video, what I'm going to do is just turn off the lights so you can see what I did there. And then obviously this is going to be just the first part that I've been lighting, but everything's going to get lighting eventually. What I did is I took a little... These are tiny LEDs. These are like, I think they're called like 406 or something like that. They're like extremely small. I think it's the smallest ones you can get. And they're wired already. Fairly cheap. I think you get 20 for like $15 or something like that, if that. And they're easy to work with because the wires on these particular lights are flexible, very flexible. So I had gotten lights before that had these really stiff wires, and it was hard to work with them. And as soon as you would bend them a little too much, they would pop off the actual LED diode. And then that was it. In order to get that back on the diode, you'd have to solder it in. And I was able to do like one or two, but it was extremely difficult and not even worth it. So these are so much better to work with, and they're actually smaller than the other ones. So I like that. And then I fed them through these little metal tubes that I had left over from other lampposts, just to give an extension to those lights. I used like the warm white on top for the most part, and more like a whitish LED for the bottom, just to give it a little variety. And to, you know, what I imagine is that the top is an older lighting system, you know, because it's an old facility, and then the white was replaced because it's just more reachable. So they went up and replaced us with the more modern LEDs, or whatever they were using at the time. And then on the cement plant, I added a lot of lighting also up here, this came out nice. It looks like it's not even there when you look at it from far away. And some extensions here, one there, and also I don't know if you can see in the back there. There's a few more there and there. So anyways, that's that. I will soon be adding the conveyor belts, and the conveyor belts will be to be determined. I don't know if I'm going to run one down this way and one across, kind of like showing that it would be going to something else over here, or maybe I'll go that way with it. I'm not sure. I got to figure it out. But I am a little limited with space and the way the structure is built, from the kit. So I might have to modify a few things to make it a little bit more realistic. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it looks pretty good right now, and we'll go with that. So let me continue through here. What's happening here? This is the connecting track or the spur that allows access to both this facility and the one down there. So once the train, the main line train can either drop off on this very long siding here, which also acts as the track for the loading and unloading of that elevator, or it could just drop off here and then this engine can go and pick it up. So in the background here, this is a backdrop junction background, and it's the ones I've been using throughout my entire layout. I'll show you over here also. These are all backdrop junction backdrops, and I think they look great. The way they come just stock are great, and the company allows you to do certain modifications to them, but these are just stock. I haven't done anything to them. And the reason why it's just kind of like sitting there is because I like to live with it for a little bit, before I actually commit to gluing it down, just to see if I like the way it looks. And in fact, if you see my other videos on my upper layout, I keep saying that, on my upper level, you'll notice that this is a different one. It's not what I had here before. What I had here before was kind of like a wheat field. It was like a very open wheat field, which is what I wanted, but I don't like the coloring that it came with. It was very like a purplish haze to it, so it wasn't matching the ground cover that I want here. So that's why I decided to try this one out instead. And this looks pretty good. I mean, from a track level here, it looks like it continues pretty far back. That's not going to be here. That's just holding the scene back. And I think I'm going to go with that. I might just I just got to cut the sky out so that it just kind of blends in with the sky that I have there already. And yeah, so this is just a straight shot all the way through. I love the way that looks when you run trains, just a nice straight line. And obviously the sidings and the storage tracks here are, I made a different ballast look by making it, less, like almost a little bit more weathered or less maintained, I should say, with some grass and just, a little bit more beat up looking. And obviously I still have to work on that stuff. I'm adding some little, patches of like weeds and overgrown grass and stuff like that here and there. But again, this color matches a lot better. It's not perfect, but it matches a lot better with what's in the background. So it pulls the scene in, which is what I was looking for. With the other one, it was like very purple. So this looked like it made no sense that it would be so different. So continuing on, this is the grain elevator. This is still in its early stages as far as like building it. This came from another layout that I had that I'm obviously going to use, but I've gotten a little bit better at weathering and things, so I'm gonna modify that a little bit because the weathering, I barely did anything to it, on my old layout. And then these are the stock elevators that this kit, includes. But what I did is I added more on this side for two reasons. I wanted to cover some of this, and I wanted to kind of make it kind of seem like it continues without the sky falling off. Because when I just had this building, it just seemed like there was nothing, and then all of a sudden there was like a very abrupt change. So this kind of like blends it all in, and then the trees and stuff kind of go behind it. What I might do though, because it looks a little bit forced that the tree line is exactly at the same height as those grain elevators, I might shift it over so that there's a little bit of a dip, or I might just cut it so that it looks like it's lower, because I don't know, it looks kind of weird. These are actually made from PVC pipe. It's the gray PVC pipe that electricians use to run cables through and wires through. I don't know what the size is, but I think it looks like 1.5 inches or something like that. But the reason I got the gray is because it's easy to blend in with what would be a cement a tower, So obviously I'm gonna still paint it and stuff, but this is just that's not weathering. That's just dirt that got on there. But it actually looks pretty good just like that. So I might go with that. And the way I made these is basically I took a table saw and I flattened one side. I just ran it through, when I liked at whatever distance I liked. And then I copied it on this side by putting it against the guide and running it. So that gave me an exact parallel, flat side on each side. And the reason you do that is because if you don't, then you don't get this look where it looks like they're kind of like inside each other. You get a very like separated look because it's, the meeting point is very thin then. So you got a very big, deep gap there. So that's why I decided to shave them down a little bit. So that's that. Obviously this would be the loading and unloading shed there for the trains to run through. So what I was trying to explain before is that if the train, let's say, is coming in this direction or in the other direction, it can actually run through while unloading the grain. So it would be like a pass-through kind of thing, instead of like having the other locomotive come in and do one car at a time, just while the other, while the main line is doing its own thing. So what I like about the way I design my layout is that I can have a train running the entire time and not really pay attention to it, and not really worry about it, and still do switch work and things like that. So that's why I decided to do this like that. But if I have anybody over doing, any kind of operating session, they can do it the other way. They can just run the train through there and then just exit at that point over there. And it also acts as a runaround track if you need to change directions. You could just take the locomotive on couple and then just come all the way around and couple to the back of it. Not that that would be a realistic thing, but it's just an option. But as you can tell from this video, I haven't even paid attention to the train that's running around. And there's no derailments, there's no problems, everything's just running nice and smooth. So that's what my goal was from the beginning. All right, so as this track bends around, it takes us to the back of the other side. And I'm gonna walk you around the other way because I can't reach that. And my room's a mess. I apologize for all the mess, but as you know, when you're working on one thing, you tend to make a mess of the other thing. And I guess it'll be like that until the end, until I finish everything. So here's where we left off. As it comes around here, you're gonna see there's a spur right there, waiting to be extended, and that's going to be extended into this long section here where I'm storing all this stuff. And that section is going to have to be built off the layout because I can't access that with all that, there's so much bench work down there that I can't access that comfortably. So I actually left it, I don't know if you can see the gap there, but I left it off the bench work so I can just pop that top piece off and then do all my track work. Once I get this spur extended and lined up, then all I need is that reference point. And once I have that turnout there or whatever is going to be there, then I can just do the rest of the track work off the layout. So it's going to be that. That's where the tank cars are going to be delivered for whatever it'll be in the future. And then this background that you see here, again, is from the same company, but this is the one that I was telling you about that I had on the other side. And as you can see, it's like a wheat field, right? But it looks a little purpley. And it's probably just the way that the picture was taken that day. It might have been the sun, the way it was hitting the field. But it's not working on the other side. But on this side, it actually does work pretty well, I think. Because it's further away. So this is pretty much as close as I can get to the layout naturally. I can lean over and get really close if I need to, but from here it looks less offensive, that color, and I can always make the ground cover here match that a little bit better. And it's also it kind of extends into this grain elevator here, so it'll kind of make sense at the same time. But I think I'm gonna leave this one here, and this way I don't waste it. Then just talk about this little section here. This window I needed access to, so when I built the benchwork originally, I made it so that you can detach it. So from here, this L to here, it pops out if you needed to. Now, I didn't want to cut the tracks until I really needed to access the window, because if I don't, then I'm not going to make another gap there for no reason. But it's just nice that I can actually get to that window when necessary. But I also need to put some kind of panels, maybe with magnets, to match the sky that's coming from, from the other side. So, obviously these two tracks are going to be the ones that lead into the last loop, which I showed you on the block detection. And that hole there that goes through the wall is actually my bathroom. It's the room next door. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you the way I actually make that loop work, and how I mount it and also take it off when I'm not using it. But basically, the reason for that is that I couldn't turn the train around anywhere without making it look really awkward. So this is all the bench work I had left here, and it was really hard to make that happen. Plus, I needed some kind of system to get the train from the lower level to the upper level, and the only thing I had room for was a ferry system with an elevator. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch my ferry system videos, because that ship goes through that hole and it ends up down here automatically. It's all connected to electronics, and there's an actuator that pushes it up, and it's kind of neat the way that works. But so I had to make the loop somewhere else, and that's why I went through the wall and into the bathroom. But in order to make my bathroom functional, I had to obviously come up with some kind of design to be able to put it up and then take it down quickly if I needed to, so that it wouldn't be very permanent. But you'll see that at the end. So these two tracks, obviously the train's going to come back. Right now it's on this track, but it's going to come back on this track in the opposite direction. But the loop is big enough so that it gives it a little bit of sense of distance, so it goes away for a while, and then when it comes back, like I said, it'll be there. But that's why this spur here is in this direction, because the train can go past it and then shove back into what would be the ferry system and onto the ship. And again, if you want to see how that works, I do have videos showing all that stuff functioning, like actually moving. The only thing I kind of goofed up on, and I was hoping maybe I can get some help from anyone watching this, is that I made my reverse loop here, which was silly because it's very close and I have no track to allow for the polarity to change and stay changed. So normally this would work if both these tracks were going in the same direction. But the problem is that this track is going in that direction and this track is going in the opposite direction. So obviously there's going to be a short here every time. So even with the reversing module that I installed, it's still a problem. It's still creating a short because it can't turn it around. So if I can't get an answer or any kind of help on how to fix that, what I might do is just shift the reversing section to over there, where I have a little bit more track to extend it and allowing the locomotives to get past the reversing section before it goes on to the next polarity. But that'll be, that's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned, because yes, I do have to change directions in order to get to that little facility that I showed you before that's in the opposite direction. But I could always use the runaround track on this side, on the grain elevator, to turn it around. So that basically covers all of the upper level, and obviously that brings us back to this side where we started from. And as you can see, the train's running really smooth, just basic cleaning tracks, and actually I haven't cleaned this locomotive in months, and it's still running nicely. The only thing is, there's a little lift or something's happening here, and you'll see it right now. See right there? Something's happening there. I got to figure out why. There's a little glitch there. But besides that, we're pretty good. Everything's working nicely. So the ballast is down for the most part. There's like little things I have to just repair, like right there. I don't know why it didn't stick. I guess I didn't put glue down. And most of the basic scenery is in. So it's just a matter of continuing now, and then eventually I will put, you know, the fascia board all the way through with a little bit of you know, undulation here up and down to make it look a little bit more put together. Let me take you around over to the bathroom loop in the next video. You'll see me pause for a second here, and then I'll show you how all that works. All right, so I wanted to show you basically how the loop, the return loop, gets mounted onto the walls in the bathroom. But I figured I'd show you what the bathroom looks like, even though it's not very pleasant to be showing a bathroom, but what it looks like when it's not interrupted. So basically, the train comes through this vanity right here, and you know, the hole is behind the encasing of this mirror vanity here. This here is the power input. So what it is, it's just one of these audio RCA plugs. This is the female part. The male is on the actual module that I had to put the track on. And what happens here is the plus is connected to the outer ring, and the minus is in the pin that goes inside. So this female takes, you know, the other side of the plug, if you don't know what an RCA plug is, and that's how you make contact. And you know, it's not really plus or minus, it's really just like A and B, and it doesn't matter which way you put it as long as you match it on the other side, on the other end. So that's basically it. I had that hole there anyway. This hole was cut out originally because my electrician had to put another outlet over here. He had to move it over, so that was there anyway. So I figured I'd just take advantage of that. Now the other part of this is that in order to allow for, there are my dogs, allow for that return loop to flow here, I had to develop some kind of bracing. So what I did is I went out and bought these cheap, you know, foldable braces that you can find on eBay for like nothing. And basically what happens is they just lift, and then there's a little support bracket, and that's it. It's in place. So I have one. This actually, I'm not even using this one because I ended up placing it too low, and it's not even touching the foam. So I might remove that. But the good thing is that they're low profile, so they're kind of out of the way. They're white, you know, they kind of blend in. And I have more on this side. This one, these two I do use, so it doesn't get wonky with the, you know, with the size of it. So, you know, obviously these come out the same way. So I wanted to show you real quick how I put the module in the return loop. So you can see how, you know, it's a piece of cake, and I can still have the bathroom functional. You know, I mean, in other videos I've shown that the shower is not being used because it was installed incorrectly from the previous owner, so it leaks into the main floor. So until we get ready to gut this whole floor out and start from scratch, I'm going to just use it as a storage space. That's why my vacuum's in there and all that stuff. But that's why I included the tracks in the shower. You know, so it's a typical stand-up shower that you would see, you know, in most small spaces. But it's disgusting because it's really old, and it's been sitting here poorly constructed and poorly installed forever. So there's the exit hole or the entrance hole, depending on how you want to look at it. And that's the rest of my layout right in there. So anyway, so let me take you back. I'm going to put this on the tripod. This way you can see how I do this. I need both hands. I'll be back. So as I promised, I wanted to show you what the lighting looked like, you know, in the upper level. So let me just turn the lights off here and show you. I've already done a lot of lighting on the lower level, as you can see. There's some here. The industrial part has the most lighting, which is right back here. I've done a lot with that. It's a little messy right now, but I did a lot of the buildings. That back one's still missing some lights right there. And then also around here. And the yard has lighting too, it's just not switched on yet. But this is what I wanted to show you. And here's the cement elevator and the gravel plant with the lights. And I thought that came out pretty nice. Right now I'm getting sunlight, a little bit of sunlight, which is not a terrible thing. It actually looks nice. But you know, they have a window here that's allowing some light in right now. At night it looks, when it's pitch black, it looks nice also, but then you can't really see the rest of the stuff around it. So I actually like it with a little bit of daylight. So it looks like an early evening shot or something like that. And that's basically it. I have some lighting down here also that I was working on for that building, and then also for this paint industry here, which I thought came out nice with the lampposts and all that stuff. So that's it. There's the lighting for the cement plant and the gravel industry.